Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to make a caftan tunic. For this project, I'm going to be tying it into geodes. So I have the shirt with the front side of it laying down flat on the table, so I'm going to be starting on the back side. There really is no rhyme or reason to it, it's just how it landed on the table. So then I pick up a single layer of fabric, so I just pinch up from like the back corner there, and using my sinew, I'm going to tie it off. So I like to wrap it around 2 or 3 times and then pull it tight and it catches, and then you can just proceed to wrap all the way down to the end. And so I wrap it around 3 times, it just seems to be the magic number, and then pull it tight. And for some of them I'll wrap it around a few more times. For some of them 3 times is enough. Sometimes I'll do maybe 8 times. You just want to have it vary a bit. And as I'm working my way down, I ruffle up the fabric. I want it to have a very organic feel to it. If you don't rough up the fabric, you do run the risk of just creating a bunch of bullseyes. And like I said, I want it to have a really natural, organic feel. So this is a rayon fabric, and when rayon is wet, it's very delicate. That being said, I do pull the sinew very tight. I'm not being aggressive with the material, I'm not mishandling the fabric and, being disrespectful to it, but I am still pulling it tight. The first geode is done, just that easy. So now I'm going to cinch up another bunch of fabric and just repeat the process. As I'm working my way down to the end, I'm varying the distance in between each sinew line. So I might make one an inch wide, and then the next one be a quarter of an inch wide, and then maybe do 2 of those in a row, and then go over a ½ inch, and then another inch. And you just want to keep it really random. That's what's going to give it the natural organic feel. Again, you want to try to avoid creating a bunch of bullseyes. You can tell that I'm pulling the sinew tight. My knuckles are turning white. When I first started to learn how to make tie-dye, there wasn't as much on YouTube as there is now. We had Mr. Tie-dye, obviously. We all kind of start with Mr. Tie-dye, right? And then there's Casual Collisions. He does all those awesome experiments in ice dyeing and liquid dyeing, but lots of ice dyeing. And then we have Angie over at Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. And Angie makes a lot of geodes. And so I would watch her videos over and over and over again. I know a lot of you do as well. And I would just bug her so many times telling her how terrified I was to make geodes, that, I really admired the way that they looked, but I was super scared to do it. And I mean, that went on for probably 6 or 7 months, just constantly bombarding her, telling her how scared I am. And, she would just encourage me to just try it. You don't know until you try. And I want to encourage you the same way she did to me. They look intimidating. I know that they do. They're not. They are so easy. They're probably even easier than making the basic spiral, to be totally honest with you. And they turn out beautiful. So don't be scared. Go grab a t-shirt after you watch this and just make yourself a geode. You don't know until you try. So I'm getting down to the end of the second geode, and I want to remind you guys that I do have this sped up for time. I'm not going this quickly, and look how slow I'm going. So for the next geodes, I'm going to speed it up a bit just to save on time. I know it can get pretty boring to watch me tie this up. I'd say it probably took me about an hour to tie this entire shirt, and it's a size small, so it's not that much fabric. I left this little part in just to show you how it goes from here. So you kind of spread it out a little bit and get a lay of the land, and then decide where you're going to go next, and then just repeat the process. Cinch up another bunch of fabric and just tie it up. From this point on this particular geode, it's primarily all sleeve. So to have that organic feel, make sure that you're doing it very random. So like I said, maybe wrap the sinew 3 times on one and then space it out differently, and maybe go 6 times on the next one, and then 3 times, and then 8 times. Otherwise, you run the risk of having a perfectly striped sleeve. And that's okay too. You can make it any way that you want to. All right, 3 geodes down and this last bit to go. Now you could break this up into maybe 2 more geodes. I decided that I'm just going to wrap all of this up into one giant geode. So I just do the same exact process on this one that I did on the first 3. So there is a lot of fabric right here. It's really thick. So I'm gonna make sure that I pull my sinew lines nice and tight so I have those white lines. And I'm taking advantage of how already messed up and ruffled up it is, and I'm just wrapping it as is. All right, I'm going to speed it up for home stretch. I want to say thank you to all of you that are watching right now. I really appreciate you guys. You guys come back all the time and check out what I'm up to. And I also want to give a great thank you to the 100 and a few of you that subscribe to my outdoor channel, Pacific Northwest and beyond. When I was creating this tie-dye channel, to get to 100 subscribers took several months. So to have 100 subscribers in only like 2 weeks, that really means a lot to me, you guys. I really appreciate it. The reason why I wanted to create a separate channel for the outdoor stuff is because I want to keep tie-dye, tie-dye, and then have the outdoor stuff on its very own, because some people are interested in gardening and they don't want to see any tie-dye, or vice versa. So thank you so much for your support. And there isn't a lot on there right now because it's still wintertime here in Oregon, so it's kind of cold and not a lot of fun to go outside and do any yard work. So as it begins to warm up and we get into spring, I'll be putting a lot more on there. So if any of you are interested and haven't subscribed already, again, it's Pacific, Northwest, and beyond. And I write it out Pacific and then abbreviate NW and beyond. And I will have a link for it down in the description box. So if you're interested, please go ahead and check that out. Thanks again, everybody. All right, now the geodes are done and we're just gonna do the finalizing of everything. And I learned this from watching Angie. In the center area, there's I kind of think of it like a crab. So it's like the crab body. I want to make that have that organic feel as well. So I'm going to wrap some sinew around just randomly to create some more white lines. I don't want it to just be all just one solid dye color. I want it to have a little bit more movement in there. Well, there it is. It's finished, and you can be done with it at this point. However, I saw a couple spots that seemed a little loose, so I'm just going to use my baby hair rubber bands to tighten it up a little bit. Normally I dye damp, but there's some really thick areas of fabric on this, and I want to make sure that it has the best chance for good saturation. So I set this aside overnight just so it could dry out a little bit. And then I'm just using a rubber band to kind of hold everything together for dye placement. And I'm going to be muck dyeing this. So I'm setting it down inside of a container, and I got this container from the dollar store, and I think they're for washing dishes. Well, they're for whatever you want to use it for. See, I use it for tie-dye, and they work out great. For the dye placement, it looks like I'm going really random, and to a certain degree I am going random, but if you really look at it, the nubs line up. So the first row of nubs, I'm using the strong navy, and you notice how I've left, 2 spaces in between the navy for orchid and then for glacier blue. Can you guys see that? And as I'm adding the dye, I have to come back and thicken up some lines, and it's not going to be perfect. And that's what's good about the geodes, is you can go as random as you want to. And also keep in mind that you can use whatever colors you want. I'm using this color palette, but you can do, oranges if you want to. And actually that's a good idea. I think I should make an orange one. But just have fun with it. Add your dye wherever you want. There is no right or wrong way to do it. I'm being pretty heavy-handed with the dye because there was some areas that were pretty thick with the fabric, like I said before. Also, with glacier blue, it's one of those colors that can disappear during ice dyeing, so I want to make sure I have enough of it on there so it can show up. Using the back of the spoon can help spread the dye out a little bit. Now we're ready to add the ice, and before I add the ice, I like to give it a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure. Now remember, it's already been pre-soaked in the soda ash bucket. This is just a little bit extra because we're going to be packing on the ice and it's going to be sitting in all of that water. It's probably not necessary, but it's just something I like to do. And then I'm going to let the ice melt and batch it for 48 hours after the ice melts. So that's what the muck looks like. So this has been sitting for 48 hours in the muck. Trust the muck. I know it looks terrifying to see all that dark water on your project. It's going to be fine, I promise. It's like magic. I don't exactly understand why the whole thing doesn't turn one color, but it just doesn't. I know there's science behind it, and I don't care. I just know it works. So a lot of people say don't mess with the muck, don't touch it, set it, forget it. And for the most part, that's exactly what I do. But if you have to move your container for any reason, it's going to be fine. I try not to mess with it just because it's just my way. But if you want to poke and prod at it and stir it and, that's your prerogative, go ahead. So let's talk about the rinse out process, and we have plenty of time because I swear untying these geodes feels like it takes almost as long as tying them up. So you want to start by using cold water to remove any of the soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric, and then increase your water up to hot. You're getting that soda ash out because you don't want dye back. Now for this particular project, it's not going to matter so much. It's just been sitting in the muck, so it's saturated. But if you were trying to protect white, you would definitely want to make sure to rinse all that soda ash out, especially out of the white, because you don't want your dark colors ending up in your white areas. And I've got lots of tutorials on white space. You can check all of that out. Okay, once I have this untied and it's rinsed till the water is running basically clear, I take it to the washing machine and I do however many hot water cycles it takes using Kirillon. It's usually about 2 hot water cycles. I take a little cup in the hot water, like the second hot water cycle or the first hot water cycle. You take a little, clear cup so you can see through it. I like to use plastic, so if it breaks, I'm not dealing with glass. I scoop it up and I look at it. If the water is basically clear, I know that I'm ready for my final hot water cycle using Millsoft. And Millsoft is a professional fabric softener, and it works awesome, especially for these rayon type projects, because rayon can come out sort of feeling like a stiff, wet bed sheet, and I don't really like that. Also, I should mention, when you're washing rayon, it's super important to use a garment bag. If you put it in the washing machine instead of hand washing it and you tear a hole in it, Dharma is not going to help you. They're not going to return it or refund it or anything like that. So you need to use a garment bag. And if you're going to sell this, I recommend you tell your customers that they should hand wash it. So that's just my little tip on that. So once it's washed, I stick it in the dryer, but you don't have to. You can also hang dry these. And something that I just learned, and I could be wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you iron rayon when it's barely damp, it turns out better. It's easier to iron, and also I guess rayon can get sort of shiny looking if you iron it dry, and I didn't know that. I think I just saw this on, I don't know where I saw it. It was online somewhere. But anyways, so maybe just hang dry yours, and when it's barely damp, then iron it and take your pictures and, sell it. So we'll come back and we'll see the results in just a few moments. Yay, finally, I'm almost done unwrapping this thing. So you can see what I mean about the muck being magic. That water was so dark navy blue, but there's plenty of lighter areas on this shirt. And this one turned out really beautiful. I knew right away when I opened it up and started doing this final rinse out here that it was going to be gorgeous. I just love this color combination. I'm so excited for you guys to see the reveal. So here it is, guys. Here's our Caftan Tunic Geode Muck icedye after it's been washed and dried, and I think it turned out amazing. I really love this. I think it's so beautiful. So this reveal is going to be just a few seconds longer than normal, because let's try to break it down and understand where everything's at. So the first geode that I did was on the back picture, so the bottom left. That's the very first geode that I tied up. The second geode is the bottom left geode. And then the two shoulders and sleeves were 3 and 4. That way you can sort of have an understanding of where your geodes are going to fall. And then, let's see. So on the left picture, the front side of the picture where it kind of has like the white and the navy blue, that was the crab body portion where they all came together. So I hope this helps you understand your placement. If you want to try to map out yours when you're doing it, you have an understanding of where they're going to fall. And then if you look at the sleeves, because I kept them nice and ruffled up and went really random, yeah, they're striped, but they have a very, like I've been saying this whole time, an organic sort of feel to them. I just really love this top. I think it's a really nice style. And I have to also say, because this is maybe like the 5th, top that I've tried, it's a nice sturdy top. It doesn't have a lot of issues with seams and holes, and it's not as delicate as some of the other things that I've ordered from Dharma. So I give this particular style 2 thumbs up. It's good quality. It's not going to fall apart, if you treat it correctly. So overall, I am super duper happy with the way it turned out. So what do you guys think? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing.